I remember one time we walked just down the street and they're like, hey, N-word, you know.
I was at my locker, first day of school. My locker mate, his name was Danny, he pushed me down into the locker and said, the reason why you're black is because you were burned in a fire and no one wanted to save you. And that kind of hit me like, I am different from my peers. Like that was a moment where I was like, oh, I do look different.
My junior year, I was vying for the role of concert mistress for the all-state orchestra. And I knew hands down I was the best, without question. And it got to the auditions, and we auditioned before the conductor of the orchestra, who was a guest conductor who had been brought in. And I ended up not getting it. And it was clear to me that the reason why I didn't get it was because I was a little black girl playing the violin, and that just doesn't happen. And a little black girl is not going to be the concert mistress of the all-state orchestra.
So for instance, downtown, there would be a dress code, like let's say no white t-shirts or no baggy pants or something like that, and which is great, right? But there would be, let's say, African American students that would go out and they wouldn't wear that per se. Or let's say they wear a white t-shirt that's fitted or something, and then they would use that excuse for them not to get in the club or whatever.
They always portray them as a single mom, angry, quick to lash out, this woman that, you know, presents herself as strong, but can be kind of crazy. And black women get that stigma of having this crazy, fierce, feisty attitude, which isn't a bad thing, but that's not all of us, and that's not us all the time. And so I can specifically think in like Tyler Perry movies, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, in a lot of his films, even in shows like Scandal that airs on ABC. I mean, here's this strong woman, Olivia Pope, and she is so weak on the inside, too, and she also runs and gives her pain to a white man.
Like we have a bad rep, for instance, like we're, I don't know, lazy or whatever, and we're like, we wear tight clothes or we're not smart or whatever. That's not true at all, but I hate that like the movies and like music videos kind of depict the other.
Because not all black women are angry, not all black women go through this struggle, not all black women are single moms, not all black women, you know, are loose and get pregnant by a bunch of men. Like, I feel like that's often the stigma, and you often don't see a lot of black women in strong, predominant leading roles. And even Viola Davis, when she won an Emmy this year.
In my mind, I see a line. And over that line, I see green fields and lovely flowers and beautiful white women with their arms stretched out to me over that line. But I can't seem to get there no how. I can't seem to get over that line. That was Harriet Tubman in the 1800s. And let me tell you something. The only thing that separates women of color from anyone else is opportunity.
She gave a shout out saying, like, I'm so glad that I can be a person of color who is receiving this award, because not a lot of women or men of color get this chance to even be offered an opportunity to even receive an award like this.
I think the thing that I probably learned the most was from my parents and their ability to really sort of navigate those tough situations, recognizing the importance oftentimes of being the only person of color and feeling like you needed to speak truth to power so that the voices of the people that you were representing became the voices of the people that you were discussing issues with, so that everybody's voice was somehow at the table and being heard.
As a black female, I felt like I had to work twice as hard sometimes, you know, just to be noticed. Or I would be noticed a lot because I was a black female. You know, in lecture halls, I'd go to office hours, and he'd be like, "You weren't in class on Thursday. Why was that?" You know, and it'd be 300 students in the class kind of thing. And they'd be like, "Oh, he picked on you a lot," you know, or whatever. I noticed that a lot too. So it's just, you gotta be on your toes, I feel like.
When I was in the first grade and moved to the south side of town. So we were one of the families that actually began to integrate our community. And so the challenges that went along with that meant that we went from predominantly African American schools to predominantly white schools. And oftentimes my brother, sister, and I were the few individuals of color in our classes.
And I can't say that I can relate to the struggles that this community may be going through, because that just wasn't the environment I was brought up in. But I can sympathize with their frustration, or empathize rather, with their frustration, because if they feel like they're not being treated fairly, there's probably some truth to that. And I don't ever act like I completely understand what's going on in these areas if I go out to a story involving you know, another murder or something like that, and I'm talking to a family who's frustrated with police. I don't ever say that I can understand what they're going through, but as a person of color, I feel like they are more receptive to even talking to me. Like, they want to talk to me because they feel like I can maybe just understand a little bit more of what they may be going through compared to my my white colleagues.
It was like a lot of people accepted me because I was a good athlete, not because I was black.
Being a person of color really, I think, is such, like, it sounds weird to call it a benefit, but I feel like I add more to the team, you know, by being here at Channel 13. I'm a great reporter, I like to think, but I'm also a person of color. You know, like that's second. That always comes second or third or down the list. It's never the first thing. Oh, Jody's our black reporter. No. Jody's our reporter who just so happens to be black.
I say I always say I'm proud of who I am. You know, I'm not afraid of who I am or where I come from.
I say don't underestimate us. I mean, just don't. We are a force to be reckoned with only because that stigma has been placed on us. And so we're trying to do everything to prove you guys wrong. You guys meaning the others who may be judging us. There is nothing that we can't do, and there's no stopping us in that area.